everybody, and thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Talk the Talk with me, Dish. Today is such a special day because I am interviewing a very good friend and a colleague in the motoring industry, Charmagne Mavudzi, the head of marketing and consumer experience from Volvo South Africa, joining us in studio today. Charmagne is a true go-getter and has certainly made her mark in the motoring industry. She is extremely perceptive about what she envisions for women in motoring, women in management roles, and more women surrounding boardroom tables. That is why she is so passionate about the future for women in motoring and believes strongly in women empowerment. Charmagne practices this and has been a supporter of all my initiatives since day one. That is why Charmagne has decided to join us today. So let's welcome Charmagne Mavudzi, proudly brought to you by Sariti Solutions.
Hi, Dave.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on your show. It's super exciting.
Yeah, I know, right? From where we started.
Exactly. It feels like just yesterday.
Well, Charmagne, you know, you've got such an exciting journey, and I've interviewed you before at my previous company as well. But let's tell our audience, how did your journey, let's talk about your life, your career.
Sure. I think it actually is quite an interesting story because I never originally started out in marketing. Mm-hmm. Obviously, coming from a very traditional family, I started out studying accounting. This was my dad's prerequisite to me going to varsity.
Right.
And I think I quickly realized that it wasn't something that resonated quite well with me. And when I got the first opportunity, I changed and I started studying marketing. And I never looked back from that point. I graduated and I started working early on, probably about 2010.
Okay.
And I think I started a very junior role in marketing as a marketing coordinator for an NGO that actually worked in the human trafficking space, which was quite interesting for me. And then I went on to just grow in different roles. And in 2015, I decided to do my master's at Gibbs in Sandton. And then after that, I went back into the working space. I had quite a balance in terms of being on the agency side and being on client side. Right. You know, working at Accenture, working at Ogilvy and Mather, until Volvo Cars headhunted me in 2018.
Yes.
And automotive, I guess, called my name and I answered.
And there's no looking back now.
No.
Yes, once you're in motoring, you can't leave.
Absolutely.
And okay, so I have met Greg. He's the
our MD.
Yes. And I've interviewed him before.
Yes.
The MD of Volvo South Africa, and he's amazing, such an amazing guy. But tell me more about the culture of Volvo, the OEM.
Absolutely. I think one of the reasons I actually joined Volvo was partly because he interviewed me.
Right.
And you could pick up the culture in the interview process that I went through, very much so people-centric.
Yes.
And not just in terms of consumers or just, you know, the concept itself. It's in the day-to-day way in which Volvo Cars is run.
Right.
We're a very small, close-knit team. Everybody knows everybody cares for everybody.
Yes.
But what I really like is there's a lot of collaboration.
Yes.
So very supportive. There is no marketing and sales and finance, you know, and you stay in your different silos. We cross-collaborate across departments quite often, if not on a daily basis. And we work hard and we play hard as well. It's one thing that Greg, our MD, really encourages, you know, that when we still could, pre-COVID, have socials, get to know each other, build relationships, because that's the only way you can work so much together. And I mean, we do put in the hours in the industry. So yeah.
Funny enough, my career in motoring started with Volvo.
Yes.
So I did tell you that. So like I have a very close connection with the brand, I would say.
Yeah.
And Volvo is one of the OEMs that was so accepting towards my career as a journalist in motoring, and you have been instrumental in inviting me for your event. So thank you so much for that, even for launches in Cape Town and whatever happens there. So thank you to you and your Volvo South Africa for affording a woman-owned enterprise like mine the opportunity to represent you. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Desh. It's only been a pleasure. pleasure. It's always good times with you.
Yeah, we've had a great time. So tell me, Charmagne, you're an amazing person. I know that. You are an incredible person. And you are always positive. Most of the time, whenever we talk, you're positive. So what keeps you, what drives you, and what makes you this way?
Sure, I would say, to be honest, Ish, for me, it's the desire to be the best version of myself. It's never perfection, I'll tell you that. So, I mean, I'm happy, but I also have my down days. But I constantly seek to see how I can push myself in my personal life, in my career, in my spiritual life, in my relationships, because I believe that's the best way to have a rich life.
Yes.
If you're constantly chasing not what anyone else expects of you or another version of someone else, but just the best of you. That's what I wake up and I strive to achieve. My dad used to say to me, funnily enough, you should take a stock take or do a stock take of your life every day. Yes. And if you haven't added value to somebody, you've wasted both your time and theirs. So I think that always stuck with me, and that's I think what I live by.
And is your dad one of your role models?
He actually is, funnily enough. Funnily enough, he is. He was a businessman, an attorney, and I think he really taught me grit, and he taught me to go get what you want.
Yes.
And when in business, you really need to have a thick skin.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to young women that wants to enter?
Yeah.
It is still a male-dominated field. I think it's going to change, but I think it's going to be equal. That's what I want. We don't want a woman-dominated field. No, we never ask for that. But what advice would you give?
Sure. I think I learned this probably in my career and for the most part in agency and largely at Volvo, being in automotive. And you're spot on it. I mean, when I entered, it really was purely a male-dominated industry. That's how it felt. And I'm sure the percentages were sitting in the 90s. I think what I would definitely say is believe in yourself.
Yes.
You need to wake up every day and believe you can do it. Be it you are in a junior position, in a management position, because like you're saying, you're walking into an environment where, we don't always talk things out as women do. You're walking into an environment where you're surrounded predominantly by men. And the way that men do business is different to how women do business. And you can't always bring emotions as your first response or your first reaction. So believe in yourself. I think I would also advise young women to train their gut, train your instinct, because it will guide you and lead you and take you very far. It's what enables you to stand for what you believe in. And I mean, again, walking into, I think it's not just about it being a male-dominated industry. It's an industry that's evolving. When we look at, electrification coming into play, when we look at different aspects of the automotive space, you need to really push for your agenda if you want to see change and if you want to make an impact. Absolutely. So it's important to listen to that gut, to build it, to train it, and most importantly, know your stuff. Be factually based in what you do. As I mentioned, emotions have no room in the boardroom.
Absolutely. So, Charmagne, you've always been supportive, as I said earlier on, of my initiatives. Tell me, why is this so? Why do you believe that this is such a great initiative?
So I think for me, it probably is a twofold scenario where it's the person. I think from the moment that we met initially, I resonated with you from your passion for the industry. You were very supportive of me, a young female entering the space as well and not knowing my way, and helped me navigate certain areas that ordinarily I might have found challenging or might have felt a bit lonely, having to figure out. So I think there is that aspect, but I am very much so pro the empowerment of women. I mean, I strongly believe that empowered women empower women.
Yes.
And I think women who struggle with that, it's more of a personal development issue.
It's just right here, right?
Wow, that's amazing. Case in point to energies. And I think Women Talk is a fantastic platform. Talk the Talk is a fantastic platform. And I think it's only going to go so far. And it can do that if we back it and if we believe in it in whatever capacity we can show up for it.
Yes, I do what I do for you. I always say that on our network and our group. And when people say, thank you, Dish, for everything you're doing for women in the motoring industry, I can't do it without your support.
Yes.
So thank you so much for that. And Charmagne, we are amidst such tough times in terms of COVID. It's affecting the industry, it's affecting the economy, and I mean we do contribute 7% to the GDP. What's happening in terms of the mental state of people within your group as such? Yeah, and how can women improve this mental state of mind?
Absolutely. I honestly agree with you. I think the past year and a little bit has been quite tough on everybody, on a personal level and at a business level. I think people have struggled even within our organization at large, globally. I think you are going through a lot of personal challenges. You know, people have lost people. People have been tried and pushed and stretched beyond what they could. I mean, for example, you find some people might have struggled, you know, being so isolated and having to work from home during lockdown. But in the same breath, I think that being part of a global network, we've come up very supported. If we also look at, for example, how Sweden dealt with, for example, the lockdown and the pandemic, which was criticized initially. But if you look at the decline in the number of infections, it's testament. What they managed to do very well was to filter not necessarily that approach, but I think the culture and the thinking and the positivity and the energy and the unity through to all the different countries, South Africa included. So I think we equally have gone through a very difficult time, but I think mentally, now being, you know, back at the office with reduced restrictions, you can see that people are in a good space, and also good to be back, good to be connecting again. Still very cautious, and I think we're all still dealing as this thing is still around, but for the most part, I'm grateful that everybody seems balanced, and we've been lucky enough that everybody's been healthy and well.
And we need that. We need social interaction with people. We are created for people.
Absolutely.
To interact with people.
Absolutely.
So that for me, like isolation and lockdown, just can you imagine?
I can imagine. I can imagine. You know, it's funny you say that, because I started and I thought, yes, this is my time to just focus on, you know, growing myself, and I was working out and reading and working, and everything was fine for the first month, and then I lost a best friend actually, and everything just went haywire. So I think you walked into it with different expectations, and you think that you've got it under control, and life will show you otherwise. So I completely understand. I got to points where I wanted to pull my hair out, literally. You know.
It was very difficult. Tell me, Charmagne, is there a what do you live by in life in terms of a quote that really drives you every day?
Sure. There's quite a few, but one that I think has been kind of playing in my mind the past few weeks, and I actually heard it on a podcast, it's a very simple one but very powerful, and it's the richest place in the world is graveyards, by Miles Monroe, the late Miles Monroe. But why that resonated so well with me is that's where all the dreams, the dead dreams are, the wishes, the potential of that was never realized. It's all resting there. We think the wealth is here. No, it's there. And I think the spin on that and the message that lands so well is do what you can now. Live the best of you now. You know, not according to anyone's standards, but according to you, so that you live a life full. And you know, when you do go on to the next life, you don't look back and wish you had. That resonated so well with me, and I think, you know, things like being kind to yourself, daily reminders. You can have a long day, work hard, have time to yourself, have some time for coffee, for tea, for a glass of wine. You know, have a good chat with a friend, go for a run, be kind to yourself. The world is tough, and I think the last one that every day, and to my point earlier that I live by, is constantly be in pursuit of the best version of yourself. It's all you can do.
I love it.
That's it.
I love that. And you know what, Charmagne, I often ask this question because I take a lot from it, as in what quote do you live by, or what motivates you in terms of, we all search for motivational quotes.
Absolutely.
And see the memes, and
I
it
do
really
every
does
day.
help. But this one, and I've interviewed over 70 people in the last 2 or 3 months, and this one really stands out. So thank you for that. Tell my audience, okay, and our audience today, what lessons would you like them to learn from your experiences? Is there any experience that you have been through in life and you have learned something from it? How can that lesson empower my viewers?
Sure. I think I still have so much to learn, but I think I would definitely say it's okay to make mistakes. It really is okay. We live, we learn, we fall, we break, we heal, we recover, we start again, we control, alt, delete. You know, we can be 50 million people for as long as we're alive. Whatever you choose to be, but be forgiving to yourself. It's okay to make mistakes. Pick up, learn, and move on across all aspects of your life. And in life, nothing will ever be perfect. The moment you realize that, you take your bad decisions with a pinch of salt, you take your wrong turns with a bit of laughter, and you're more forgiving to everyone around you.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on your show,
Is there anything else
Desh.
you'd like to add to this conversation?
I would say, I think please keep doing what you're doing. You're creating amazing platforms. And I really hope that more women get impacted by what you're doing. And thank you for your contribution to the industry.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. That validates what I'm doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
for that.
Desh.
Okay, so that for us is the end of yet another exclusive episode of Talk the Talk. That was amazing for me because Charmagne is really close to my heart. She's very special to me. And viewers, thank you for watching, supporting, and following us once again. Also, please remember to follow us on our social media platforms. And don't forget, we have thousands of vehicles on sale to choose from countrywide on our vehicle listing page at www.womantalk.co.za. And remember, viewers, we only advertise for bank accredited dealerships. Based on what Charmagne said earlier on in terms of being kind to yourself and being optimistic and just being motivated, ladies, extraordinary women have realistic optimism. Realistic because they take action, and optimistic because no matter what the result may be, they believe their success is inevitable. They believe that, like a child learning to walk, they need to take action first and then modify the action according to the feedback that they get. This positive attitude allows you to persevere and be resilient when things don't go your way. No matter what you pursue, you will become the best in your field. And like Charmagne said, the best version of yourself. There is no job too small. You will be successful. Successful people strive for excellence. Remember that money is a byproduct of the value you offer. Don't be pushed around by the fears in your mind. Remember, ladies, instead of worrying about what you cannot control, shift your energy to what you can create. And I promise you, it's only after you've stepped outside your comfort zone that you begin to change, grow, and transform. And ladies, as I'd like to remind you each day, the question should never be who's going to let me. It should always be who's going to stop me.